I'm Mithun Premraj. I'm from Kerala. So I've done MBBS as my graduation. I did it from Jitma and Puducherry. And after that, I've done a postgraduate diploma in public health management from Indian Institute of Public Health in Delhi. And I've worked in between exams as medical officer in a few government institutions. So this was my fifth attempt at UPSC exams. Previous four attempts, I'll just give a brief description of my four attempts. My first attempt, I cleared prelims and wrote mains, but couldn't make it beyond that. In my second attempt, that was in 2017, I was in the reserve list after interview. In 2018 also, I appeared for the interview, but again, I did not make it to the list. In 2019, I couldn't clear prelims, and 2020 is my fifth attempt now. And I would like to share a brief experience of my UPSC journey with you all.
Welcome to Lukman IAS. Study general studies with Lukman IAS for building comprehensive knowledge, thorough understanding and a good perspective, which are essential ingredients of UPSC for getting top rank in civil services examination. GS paper 2 and 4 will be taken by S. Ansari and other papers will be covered by renowned faculties. So, Lukman IAS becomes the obvious choice. The renowned faculties are Lakshmikant for Geography, Ecology and Environment, Professor Mustaba Hussain for Art and Culture, Dr. Jia for History and Abhijit Jha for Society. It is the pre-cum-means batch with integrated guidance program, which consists of prelims, means and interview. The course features live classes are as effective as offline classes. The classes are highly interactive in nature. Your doubts and queries will be addressed and there will be dictation of notes. In the last 10 years, contact us today for more information.
So I'll start with prelims. So first thing I did in my preparation, that was way back in 2015-16, was to build a solid foundation of all the topics at hand, like polity, economics, geography, history, environment, science and tech. So I felt that this foundation is quite important. You have to be strong, you have to apply your mind and build that foundation, and from that foundation you have to build upon actually tackling the exam. You should build upon that foundation. So I feel this is a very important part of UPSC preparation, that is learning the basics. And coming to prelims examination, my strategy in prelims is, one thing is learning, that is factual learning. You will know that we have to learn a lot of facts for prelims exams, and along with it, practicing papers. I used to do a lot of papers. So prelim strategy has worked for me well in almost all examinations, because I've cleared 4 out of 5 prelims I gave. And the main strategy in the giving mock tests or test series is that you have to identify how to tackle an MCQ. There is a knack of tackling MCQs, especially with prelims becoming so unpredictable these days. Like learning alone, it's difficult to tackle prelims. So one thing I feel which helped me was doing a lot of mock tests, then analyzing yourself. Like while giving mock tests, like number of mock tests you give, my aim was to get a consistency, in the level of consistency, maybe around 100 or just above 100 marks in every test series I gave. Not initially, of course. Initially you have to learn through that mock series, like what are your strengths, how many questions you want to attempt. And for me, one particular strategy was to just go through the paper and understand the level of difficulty that a paper provides. So if it seems to be a very difficult paper, I will attempt relatively less, maybe like 70 to 75. If it's a kind of an easy paper, my number of attempts went up to even up to 88, 90 attempts I have done. So I got this sense of number of questions I should attempt by practicing a lot. So I did a lot of mock tests. I evaluated myself. I try to get to that mark, even if a question you don't know completely, like you cannot eliminate all the other three options, still you should have the confidence to attempt that question. So that came with practice. I think these are the technical aspects kind of with the prelims questions. So basically, I think prelims, this was my strategy: have the foundation, read factual information, especially current affairs. And year to year, the focus of prelims also, I think, varies. Earlier, environment used to receive a lot of attention in prelims, but nowadays we see environment is receiving less. But science and technology, especially last year, prelims science and technology had a lot of questions. So I think with the changing demands also, you should maybe change your preparation a bit, give more focus on a particular subject in a particular year. Anyway, after that, it's tackling a number of mock tests, test papers, and evaluating, like in a proper fashion, how many answers you attempt, how many questions you attempt, what are the marks you get, and over a period of time, try to improve upon that marks. And I would say I kept an ultimate goal as towards the end of preparation, at least consistently score near 100 marks in every mock test I do. And that will give us a variety, because it's so unpredictable. Doing a few different mock tests and getting consistent marks means you have got that technique of cracking prelims. So I would say with respect to prelims, this is what I can share from my experience. I can maybe give a few suggestions regarding mistakes. One is very important, I feel, is the number of questions you attempt. Like there should not be like I know there are people who attempt all questions and it works for them, but I would suggest that students try to find their own rhythm, rather than someone telling you you should attempt this many number of questions. By practice, I think you can try to get a sense of your own comfort zone where you can actually attempt this many questions. And it's just a elimination exam, like you just have to qualify it, you don't have to get extremely high marks. So without trying to get over stressed about it, I think. And one more point I can make, one mistake I made was reading a lot. Especially these days, we have a lot of information, lot of material, and they give lot of information. And it seems to me that most of it actually doesn't come to help in the examination. So I think we should also try to find out a way of moderating the amount of information we take in, we learn, because there is a certain capacity that we can understand. So even I think that would be also a very customized thing. Maybe you should try to identify a material, one material, or maybe a couple of material which you would like, and then follow it up. Maybe rather than reading everything and cramming everything, which might actually not help. So, in my opinion, that would be a suggestion I would like to give to people. Now, moving on to mains. With regards to mains, as I was telling, so mains was my nemesis because I always had a fear of mains, and writing up 4 to 50 marks in 3 hours was a challenge. And all my previous attempts, I could not even complete nearly what say I left for nearly 150 to 160 marks in my last two attempts, and more than 300 marks in my first attempt. So, and clearing, you cannot clear this examination by leaving so many questions. So what thing I did differently in this mains was that I actually worked much harder, because for mains you have to work hard 2 3 months, you have to put in whole effort. And the core thing in mains is writing. Right. How much ever we learn, the ultimate marks and the bulk of the marks for this UPSC examination lies in mains, and for that we have to write. So from my experience this year, I made very specific notes for each topic, for each subject. I would identify topics and I would make brief notes on it. In the sense, I wouldn't list down all the information that is available, but for a topic, I would try to limit my notes to say 5 6 points on, like depending on the importance of the subject and the level of questions that can come from it. You can customize the number of points you want to put. So I would make like on an average 5 to 6 points on each topic and each heading. For instance, if it's a law or if it's a policy, so what is the background of for that policy? What is the need for that policy? What is the existing policy? What are its pros? What are its cons? What is the way forward? What are the suggestions? So these headings, and 4 to 5 points in each of under each of these headings. And I made notes like almost I on a lot of topics in each of the general studies papers. and I used to revise on this. And this provided me a great help in actually attempting the question. Because in examination hall, you just get 3 hours and there is no, and you have to attempt 20 questions. And there is almost no time to think, so it has to come very spontaneously. And this was one of the main reasons I couldn't complete my answers in the previous attempts, because I was thinking in the examination hall and then structuring and making the answer there. So this time I did a lot of groundwork for that. I made notes. Precise notes is what helped me, because rather than having a lot of points, having 5 to 6 points at the tip of your fingers so you can just push them off. So that was very helpful. And also one more thing is structuring the answer is very important in mains. So some of you might already have that ability, because a lot of people write in their school days, they read, they have that writing experience. So you are at an advantage there, but some of you might not be, so you have to work on that. Even people who are good at that, you have to improve it. So we need to present the answer in the most precise and clear, small, brief way, and this comes with practice again. So from prelims, not day one I would say, but at least after 2 weeks of prelims, I started writing almost every day. I would write at least 4 to 5 questions and answers. And more than, and test series, of course I gave test series. I did it from iLearn IAS in Trivandrum. I did all my coaching, most of my coaching from iLearn IAS. And I used to give test series, and this time I was sincere. I gave almost all of the tests which I didn't do in my previous attempts. So that was there, and I used to write, beyond that also I used to write 4 to 5 answers every day. And more than the feedback, I mean, other than the feedback you get from the institute on test series, I used to evaluate my own papers. So I get a sense of understanding, like where I have gone wrong, like where I think I can improve. And like over past 4 years of 4 to 5 years of my experience in UPSC, I can fairly evaluate my answers. So, and that also I feel it's a very good technique to develop, because sometimes in test series you might not be marked as you are marked in the actual examination. So I think you should also try to sense it, try to get a sense yourself of your answers and what you can improve upon. And practice, practice, practice. Write a lot of answers, evaluate it yourself, do test series, make notes. Uh, and then regarding mains preparation, and one more thing which helped me was, this time I enjoyed the preparation, because earlier I used to have this very negative thing in my mind about mains, because I couldn't complete, writing was difficult, and this caused a lot of mental stress. I was not happy, I was stressed while learning. So this time I thought that this is not gonna work. So I tried to uh, enjoy the process of learning. I started quite early, like maybe just a few days after prelims. So, and I have my own. I can study probably like 5 6 hours a day in the initial years, initial days, 6 7 hours probably. But more than the duration, it was the quality of what to say, time you put inside into study. So whenever you study, like if you put in your full mind, full concentrations, and that will be much more effective learning, and you can remember things, you can recollect things and put it across easily. That's what I feel, rather than sitting long. It may be very different for people. Again, I would say it's very customized thing. Like you should identify your strengths. If you need to sit for longer hours, please do that. If you want to sit for shorter hours and you can get in things, do that. And rest of the time, try to sharpen your mind. That's what worked for me this time. I think I could enjoy it. I did my activities, be it exercising, be it meditation, be it hobbies or traveling. But whenever you are sitting and studying, give it your full, enjoy it, try to take in. And that kind of, that mentality in preparation actually gave me much more satisfaction. And I was happy in the preparing this time for mains. And even the exam which I gave, I was pretty satisfied with this year's mains after I gave it, which did not happen in the previous years. So with regards to mains, I think these are the experiences from my journey I can share. Now I'll briefly talk about the resources I used for the exam. I think you'll all be familiar with the basic books for polity. I followed Lakshmikant for geography, NCRT, as well as GC Leong. because geography is my optional subject. But for GS, I don't think GC Leong is actually necessary. NCRTs +1 and +2 is very good. It's a basic material. In terms of history, modern history, I use Spectrum Publications Modern History. Ancient and medieval history was a weak point for me, but and I read a bit from NCRT textbooks, new NCRT textbooks. Uh, but personally, for me, ancient and medieval is a bit difficult to follow also. And art and culture, I would say I followed up with CCRT notes. Like if you just Google art and culture UPSC PDF, I think you'll get a lot of compilations. Some of the you have to check the authenticity of the books also with the information they are providing. But rather than sitting and reading this big huge books, I mostly read from these small compilations which I could get online. Uh, I think CCRT sites compilations are also available if you just Google it. Then for environment, basic foundation, that was long back. I read it. Shankar IAS has an environment book that was long back. I haven't read it in the recent attempt. Uh, then coming to geography, polity, economics, I followed Shankar Ganesh, book by Shankar Ganesh. I feel it's a very concise book. Concepts are pretty well defined, well explained in that. And then of course coming to materials, like you have a wealth of materials available free of cost online by almost all institutes. I would say it's up to you, like you can choose one resource to follow. You can go through a few of the resources which are available under various institutes, and just go through the previous year papers, and then you will get a sense of which one is comfortable, and maybe stick with one. If you have time, if you're a voracious reader, maybe you can read two. I just did probably one last year, one set of material for prelims and one set of material for mains. I think it's available free of cost, like online. Enough resources are available, and there are like compilations, daily current affairs, monthly current affairs, and PIB I feel is an important site you can follow, because very authentic information on government programs and policies you get from PIB. So PIB is one which I used to follow up very closely. The resource I followed last year was Rao's IAS Compass, Prelims Compass and Mains Compass, as well as the institute I'm studying, that is Island IAS. They also have a compilation for prelims, and it's a very concise compilation. So these are the two materials I followed for my last this attempt. And of course, I do a lot of Google searches, and a lot of institutes come up. So it's everywhere. So I don't think I need to mention them specifically by name. If you want to search on a topic, just put it. It's there. You type topic and UPSC, you type, it's there. All material is there, and I think most of them are authentic. If you have some doubts regarding something, you can always Google it up with news reports. Mm, and other stuff. And also in case of newspapers, I feel for mains, opinion page is a very important thing, because one, it gives us a sense of language and gives us a help into answer writing, because you can actually analyze the opinion, like how it is written, and you can try to incorporate some of these words or this thing, and it gives a lot of dimensions, like a lot of views on a particular topic, which is actually comes into help in mains. So that would be another. And I follow opinion pages from the Hindu, Indian Express, and Live Mint. So these are the, like I do read from others as well, but these are the three main sources I would say. So I guess that's it about the resources for general studies. So now I'll try to discuss it paper by paper. Anyway, so essay for me, not much preparation on essay front. Only thing I used to do was, I used to, just the day before exam, I used to look up some quotes by some great people, eminent personalities, so that I can use it somewhere in my essay. And I'm usually I'm able to put a quote or two into the essays, but I feel that should come organically. It should not be forced. That is one thing with regarding quotes in essays. And now coming to GS1, GS General Studies papers. For me, GS1, 2, and 3 pretty much the same strategy. As I mentioned earlier, it is foundation should be strong. Then it should be updated regularly with the current developments. And note making was very important this time for me. Precise notes, and then practicing, like give answers, write answers. One you write in one, two, three. You get n number of resources, questions with solutions. Take a few of them every day from different sources. Give it an attempt. And one more thing I did was to increase the exposure to questions. I used to just see the questions, then analyze them in my mind, and then try to structure an answer in the mind. Like, so I could cover a lot more questions than I actually write. In this way, so if you do this with repetition, you do this regularly, then you get like the time you take to process the question, analyze the question, and structure the answer comes down. And this helps us to complete mains examination in a much more efficient manner. So that is the strategy for GS1, 2, and 3. And coming to ethics, ethics had a different strategy. I did prepare some theory parts of ethics this time, but very little, not a lot, because from my experience, theory part of ethics just contributes uh, very small part in the total questions or marks. But I did prepare this time, but a brief manner. Again, I prepared notes for theory of ethics, and the thing for ethics I did was just attempt questions. Like every other day, I would just attempt one or two ethics questions, uh, and that helped because ethics, and this year especially ethics, the paper was a bit different from previous years. So this experience of writing different questions, facing different questions from different sources actually helped me, because even if the question pattern changes in a year, you can adapt to it. So again, it's the same practice. Get exposure to a lot of questions. Even if you don't have the time to write, see a lot of questions, try to structure the answers in your mind, and just look up the solutions. Just go through the solutions briefly. So this process, over time, it will get you in that mindset. Like when you see the question immediately, you feel like, okay, I can answer this. I have the structure, and so that will help a lot. So I guess this is the strategy for GS and SE. From my experience, again, practice is very important. You have to work hard. Mains is an exam of hard work. You have to give your best, right? And I would say, try to enjoy the process of examination. Like this was one thing that helped me this time, because it's a very stressful examination. It's an examination that takes a lot of time. The process itself takes nearly 1 year. So stress can actually decrease our efficiency and our ability to learn. So managing stress is also very important, like often overlooked but very important. And the efficiency of learning should be there. Whatever time you put in, you should get the result for that. For that, our body should be sharp, mind should be sharp, and it's a overall thing. And for that, I would suggest physical activity is very important. Personally, I feel it helps us to learn better because it improves oxygenation, it improves energy levels. And so in the meantime, it will improve your learning efficiency. Like you can learn the same stuff in lesser time. And so I would say keep some time for relaxation and try to enjoy the process. So talking about the plan B, and one takeaway I've gotten from all these years of UPSC experience is that what you are, what skills you have, what uh, viewpoints you have developed, what things you want to do, these things stay with you whether you clear the exam or not. So you are who you are. The exam process is just a step. In that sense, if I did not clear the exam, I wanted to still do what I liked, what I have passion to do. So public health was one of the things that actually brought me into civil service. And so I followed my MBBS up with a public health diploma, postgraduate diploma in public health management in Indian Institute of Public Health. And I was actually looking for jobs after the mains exam. But actually, I started working in COVID hospital after that. So public health was my plan B, and it's an area of passion for me, and so it's a nice thing, I would say. So we can keep doing it. If you have determination, if you have grit, if you have the confidence, go for it. I would say if you don't want to have a plan B, then don't. But as practically speaking, there is a level of attrition here, and like many people do not get qualified. And as I said earlier, we are who we are. You are who you are. Your skills, your passion, your ambition still stays, despite you get through this exam or not. And you can always, there are always opportunities in this world to prove your mettle, to do what you like, what you have passion to, the change you want to make. And for that, a plan B is necessary. If not this, where will we use our skills? Where will we utilize our passion? So in that sense, I think a plan B is good. Regarding interview, I think I was always okay with interviews. I was the most comfortable with interview part, uh, because it's not a factual based hardcore learning session. You have to be aware of the current developments, but then you have already given your main, so you know a lot of stuff already. You have gone through this process, whole process of examination, and you have developed your worldviews, you have your passions, you have ambitions. So my point in interviews, like, be true, be genuine, that led you to this, and be yourself, be comfortable. And confidence is key, because with interview there is always this issue, because generally we are all afraid of interviews. And giving mock interviews is a great way. Like, if you go and give a few mock interviews, maybe see others give mock interviews, I think it can help improve your confidence. Maybe people have different strategies. For me, giving mock interviews was a good thing initially, but I'm more comfortable. Recently, the like my initial attempt, I gave up to 5 6 mock interviews. This attempt, I gave only 2 mock interviews. Mm. And I would say, be true to yourself and try to refine your personality. Try to analyze yourself, like go deep into yourself and then analyze, and then think about answers to them yourselves. I think this will also help in interview, and these are the answers actually they are expecting from you. So actually, regarding in personality test, of the three I gave, this time was my lowest score in personality test. Like, first time I had 183, second time I got 190, and this time it was 179. But again, that was also very. It's proportionate to the effort I put in also, because this time for interview there was a long gap. I was working, and this long gap also gave me some sense of demoralization over time. So probably I guess this interview, maybe I was a bit underconfident. So that is there. Being a doctor, the first question they asked, sir asked me in interview, was like, don't you think doctors are required in us in the current situation of pandemic? Don't you think the country needs doctors more and not administrators? And I can also give the answer I gave, because I feel, more than as a clinical doctor who sits and treats patients, I feel like I can make the system much more efficient. Not speaking as of right now, but in the direction I'm going, I hope I can make, I wish and I aspire to make changes that can actually make the system more efficient, and I have the confidence that it can be done. So that was my answer. And my interview with three panelists, questions were good. They asked me about sports and Olympics, like how is India doing? What is the trajectory of sports in India? And one question was regarding my just personal experiences in Pondicherry and Jipma. But the questions asked in the later part, I felt I didn't do good. I could have done much better in those aspects. One of which was about reforms I would like to bring about in medical education. While I had a lot of points, but in the actual interview, I could not articulate it well enough. So I think, and I was not satisfied after the interview. So I guess that's a brief gist of the interview process. My takeaway from this whole journey is that I'm a changed man now. Like, I've changed much. I think for the better, and this was a huge learning process. And I've learned to take in success, failures, so-called successes and failures in life, and I'm much more confident of facing any crisis in my life now. I think this whole examination process itself prepares us for that, and in that sense, I appreciate and congratulate everyone who has taken the step to get into this thing. Be bold, stay with your convictions, follow this thing, learn a lot, be curious, and get ahead. and give your mind to it, engage with the learning process and do things, and success or results will come on its own. Don't worry about that. That's my message.